This from my experience from when I was a teenager, learning that after my first gig, which was only 45 minutes, the back of a flatbed truck. But in that 45 minutes, I found out how tired I got. So anyway, there we go. I went over the time anyway. So I might as well keep going. Yeah, so this will be kind of like the part 2, I guess. So the approach I'm taking with the bass is the same approach I've taken with the guitar. I don't have any gigs lined up because don't have a band, right? But as soon as I get a chance to, I got a few things on my plate first, but as soon as I get a chance to, this bass is going to be on stage and I'm going to work this thing. He's going to work. He's going to work. That's it. But I have to be able to do the job. So, you can only blame the equipment so much. You have to know what your abilities are when you get into that kind of playing. Because when you do get onto the stage and with confidence that you can hold your own for that whole 3 hours, regardless of what the songs are, if they're speed metal or if they're country or if they're, R&B or they're jazz or whatever, there's no free lunch with the bass. Your thinnest string is probably the same gauge just about as the thickest string on an 8-string guitar. And even the 8-string guitar takes a little bit of endurance to play. You gotta play it a lot to get there. The 7-string, that 7-string is awesome, but same thing. It's you're stretching out, you're doing whatever. So the reason why I'm making this video is I haven't seen anybody talk about that. How to prepare yourself for your first gig. Because you won't play well once you're tired. You have to push, and then it distracts you when you have to push. Whereas if it kind of flows more naturally because you're used to that kind of endurance, then what happens is everything just sounds better because that stress is off you. It's like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Once you start thinking, oh man, I don't know if I could push through these next couple, this next hour or whatever. Once you start thinking that way, trust me, things start going awry real fast. Again, knowing what I know now, many years later, and I learned it very quickly after maybe about the 3rd or 4th gig that I had to practice the entire set list. Like when I was a teenager, which was many moons ago, what ended up happening is I like my buddies, like I say, we'd get together, we'd jam, we'd play about 5-6 songs and take a break. You know what I mean? And then when the gig come around, it'd be like, like 45 minutes, you're like, yeah, I got all this energy in the world. But somewhere in the beginning or the middle of the second set, you're just like, I can't do this. I'm going to die. My hands are going to fall off. My fingers are going to go into the pits of hell. You know what I mean? And you start pitying yourself because everything starts to suck. You still have fun, but it's just like, but if you want to really enjoy the show, really master it and really have fun, it's not about how complicated you're going to play. It's about having the endurance to get through it all. So what you might find is you might hold back on a bit of flash the longer the show is. If you want to look at a guy that has like phenomenal endurance, like Steve Harris, Billy Sheehan, those guys, if you're into the rock metal stuff, phenomenal bass players, the amount of endurance they got. Flea, again, these guys, they can pound away all day on because they've got the endurance to do it. You know what I mean? You go see Iron Maiden, that's a 2-hour, 3-hour show. They do this almost every other night. Now, play 3 gigs in a row, say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 hours, 9 hours of playing in 1 week is a very intense thing. You know what I mean? You think you can do that very easily. No, your hands will fatigue. It's like, okay, I got a good night's sleep, whatever, but my fingers just don't have the strength anymore. That's called fatigue. And you will even get it on light string guitars like this. So if you get it on light string guitars, you're definitely going to get it on the bass. So learn how to do that endurance, but also learn how to make sure your hands are not stressed and they're as relaxed as possible. The biggest find I find is that it feels natural, but it's the attack approach. Like, for example, I'll just to wrap up here. Like, you're like, okay, I'm just going to go light the whole night. Okay. After a while, that gets hard to do, and then you start forcing even more. till the point where your hand's so fatigued that you can't do it, right? So then you start. You start trying different stuff just to give your hand kind of a break while you're still in motion, and that means you're not up to the level to do it yet. So just because you can play it doesn't mean you can play professionally. Whatever. And just because you're an amateur doesn't mean you can't play professionally. And what I mean by professional is that whenever this comes up in the night, or if the whole night is that one riff the whole night for 3 hours straight, that every song is built around that riff. We'll just say that for argument's sake. Doesn't matter, I got this. So practice your endurance. Whatever it takes, right? So get the endurance there. And again, like the idea is so that your hands can play as relaxed as possible for as long as possible with as much power as you can possibly get out of it. And the only way you get that is run the set list, all 3 of them, nonstop, whenever you get a chance. And if you can't get all 3 of them, at least do an hour. You know what I mean? Do one set one night, one set the next night, one night after that. And then the next day, maybe play for about 5-10 minutes and then do your gig. Because you got to let your hands rest up. So, all right, anyway, there we go. So hopefully you guys got a tip out of that and hope you enjoyed that. And there we go. Have yourselves a great day.